Welcome to Indus Special. I'm Ejaz Haider. A special anti-terror court in India's Haryana state has acquitted 4 persons accused of having planned and executing the terror attack on Samjhauta Express. The train en route to Atari and then Lahore on February 18, 2007 was struck near Panipat when bombs went off in 2 carriages. At least 70 passengers were killed, nearly 2/3 of them Pakistani nationals. The NIA Special Court has concluded that the investigating agency has failed to prove the conspiracy charge and ruled that the accused deserve the benefit of the doubt. This was the NIA counsel R.K. Handa, as he was reported to the press as saying about the NIA. The accused include Nabakumar Sarkar alias Swami Asimanand, Lokesh Sharma, Kamal Chauhan and Rajendra Chaudhary. Sunil Joshi, the alleged mastermind of the attack, was killed in December 2007 in what was described as very mysterious circumstances. The remaining 3 accused, Ramachandra, Kalsangra, Sandeep and Amit, continue to be at large and have been declared as proclaimed offenders. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesperson, Dr. Mohammed Faisal, has said that we have received reports that 4 of the accused in the Samjhauta Express bombing have been let go. This is highly condemnable. According to a Foreign Office press release, the acting Foreign Secretary summoned India's High Commissioner to lodge Pakistan's protest and condemnation against the acquittal of the 4 accused, including Swami Asimanand, who the Foreign Office described as the main perpetrator and an activist of the Hindu terrorist organization RSS. The Foreign Office said the acquittal makes a travesty of justice and exposes the sham credibility of Indian courts, and added it also belies the rampant Indian duplicity and hypocrisy where India reflexively levels allegations of terrorism against Pakistan while protecting with impunity terrorists who had publicly confessed to their odious crimes. To discuss this, we have with us Vijaita Singh, who is the deputy editor of The Hindu and based in Delhi. We also have Ahmer Bilal Soofi, a lawyer and an expert in international law, and Ambassador Tasnim Aslam, who is a former special secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I will begin with Vijaita. Just give us a sense of, since you've been following the story, you reported it, give us a sense of what exactly happened. Is it correct that the prosecution could not make the case stick, or the sense that under the Modi government there was an attempt to soft pedal the entire issue?
As we're all aware, the explosion on Samjhauta Express, it took place in 2007. And it took 3 years for the CBI to arrest the prime accused who has been acquitted now, Nabakumar Sarkar alias Asimanand. And the case was later transferred to the NIA. It dragged on for years in a special NIA court, and finally the verdict was pronounced yesterday. And all the accused, including Asimanand, have been set free. So somewhere, it is a failure of the prosecution and it is the failure of the NIA to have proved the charges against the accused. And this has happened in 2 similar cases as well. In the Mecca Masjid blast of Hyderabad, which occurred in May, the same year, and the Ajmer Dargah blast, which occurred in October the same year. So the same group of people were involved, and NIA had named in their respective charge sheets. But all of these cases have turned into acquittals. And NIA has not challenged the acquittals in the Mecca Masjid and Ajmer blasts, and it is unlikely that it will challenge the acquittals in the present case, though the official stand as of now is that they are studying the order.
Okay. Now, I have excerpts from a long article that was penned by Leena Raghunath in February 2014 in The Caravan. It was titled The Believer, Swami Asimanand's Service to the Sangh. And Ms. Raghunath says in December 2010 and January 2011, Asimanand made 2 judicial confessions to courts in Delhi and Haryana in which he admitted to planning the attacks. At the time of his confessions, Asimanand refused legal representation. He spent 48 hours in judicial custody, insulated from investigating agencies before making each statement. Both times, Asimanand resolved to confess and had his statements recorded in court. His confessions and the confessions of at least 2 of his fellow conspirators allege that the attacks were planned with the knowledge of at least one senior member of the RSS. Anyway, then Ms. Raghunath goes on to say that ultimately he was given legal advice by lawyers mostly belonging to the Sangh, and he retracted his confessions. But then when she sat down with Asimanand and interviewed him, and she says, and I quote, Asimanand denied being tortured or that his confessions were coerced. He said that when he was arrested for the bombings by the CBI, he decided it was, and she's quoting him, a good time to tell all about this. I knew I could be hanged for it, but I'm old anyway, unquote. Over the course of our conversations, Asimanand's description of the plot in which he was involved became increasingly detailed. In our third and fourth interviews, he told me that his terrorist acts were sanctioned by the highest levels of the RSS, all the way up to Mohan Bhagwat, the current RSS chief. And then it goes on. It's a very long article, and it's available on the net. So my question is, Vijaita, since you've been following the story, that what is the truth behind lots of analyses and also reports? And there was also one of the NIA prosecutors who said that she had been specifically asked by the government to soft pedal these cases. Is this sense correct, that the Modi government has tried to get these people off the hook?
See, it's very difficult to say because we don't have any evidence to back it. But as the course of investigation has gone, and as the only cases where these particular set of accused were involved, why acquittals in only these cases, and has a record of 95% conviction rate. So why acquittals in only these 3 particular cases? Malegaon blast is still under trial. So the verdict is not yet out, but these 3 cases, otherwise NIA has a 100% conviction record. And you're right about Rohini Salian. She had accused the government of the agency, the NIA, of pressurizing her, of going soft on the accused. That's a reality. But to pinpointedly say that, the government is involved, because the agency has clearly not done enough in this case. They should have presented foolproof evidence, especially as you just mentioned about Asimanand's confession in the court. Why only rely on his confession? They should have, collected more evidence against the entire plot. Like I remember in 2010, the first breakthrough came when the cover of the suitcase in which the bombs were packed and placed on the train, they were traced to a shop in Indore. And the main accused who had planted the bombs, who later died in 2010, Sunil Joshi, his call records were found to be in the same Kothari market area from where the suitcases were purchased. So, these were the kind of evidences. I don't know, I've not followed the day-to-day hearings in the Panchkula Special NIA court, but clearly the agency has not presented their case in a very tight manner. That's why it has led to the acquittal.
So at the minimum, what we're saying here is that we cannot really prove that the government has tried to directly intervene into this. There is enough circumstantial evidence for the onlookers, for the observers of the scene, to consider the possibility that the NIA, which as per your statement has a record of 95% prosecutions, is not particularly interested in pursuing these cases.
That's what comes to the mind, because after Asimanand got a bail in Mecca Masjid blast case of Hyderabad last year, BJP's General Secretary, he tweeted that Swami Asimanand, Swami is a revered, if you revere someone, so you address him as Swami. Swami Asimanand is a free man now, even though the Samjhauta verdict was about to come. So yeah, if you can put things together, if you see things in that perspective, then the role of NIA is certainly under suspicion.
Certainly under suspicion. Thank you so much. That was Vijaita Singh talking to us, deputy editor of The Hindu. I had earlier quoted from Leena Raghunath's long piece. She also said when Seemanand talked to her about Mohan Bhagwat, the current RSS chief, who was the organization's general secretary at the time, Seemanand told me that Bhagwat said of the violence, and this is in quotes, "It's very important that it be done, but you should not link it to the Sangh." So by these confessions and this long report, it's very clear that the RSS was directly behind Abhinav Bharat's activities and Seemanand's activities. Let me go to Ambassador Aslam on this. Ambassador Aslam, you were at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. You were also the spokesperson at that time. You've also followed this up with India. What exactly is your sense of why this has happened? Because as Vijaita said, it seems that the NIA wasn't and isn't really interested in pursuing these cases.
First, I'm not surprised at the verdict. In fact, if verdict was guilty, that would have surprised me, because since this terrorist attack happened, first the effort in Delhi was to blame it on so-called non-state actors in Pakistan. When they couldn't do that, their emphasis was to somehow drag the whole process out. And there were a large number of witnesses. You mentioned the prosecutor. She also said that witnesses, one by one, were also backing out. So they were pressured to not to testify. And then you have another angle to this. You've talked about RSS. You haven't talked about the Indian military's role. Colonel Prohit, who provided the explosives. So, it is understandable that given the fact that, for me it's a fact, because there are evidence all over the place. There has been evidence since day one that RSS as well as Indian intelligence and military establishments were behind this attack, and similarly in other attacks. And I may also mention here that there are certain people in India, in the media also, who are questioning the timing of Pulwama attack as well. So with this, there is this pattern with these attacks in India, that no matter what they say initially, it turns out that there are connections that lead to Indian state. Parliament attack, Chatti Singhpura attack, those two were in fact more or less proven. Chatti Singhpura, when the commission, independent commission was established, it came out with a very critical report and with evidence on the basis of DNA that the attack was masterminded and carried out by Indian security forces. So I'm not at all surprised that this has happened. How we should have responded to this, when there were signs all over the place that India is going to acquit all those criminals. And one police officer who was investigating this case, Karkare, he was killed in Mumbai attack. And there is a book by ex-IB, Indian the official, IB I think, official who killed Karkare. And he again is of the view that Karkare was removed from the scene because he was going to expose the entire linkage of Indian military and RSS and leadership in this terrorist attack.
Right. This Karkare, obviously, incident is very important, as was the fact that there was a serving Indian military intelligence officer, a Lieutenant Colonel, Purohit, who, along with another former Indian major,
Purohit,
who were involved with the planning and providing logistics and explosives to the perpetrators. Colonel Purohit later said that he was undercover, deep undercover, and was only performing his duties. We haven't really heard much about that or further investigations into certain other serving officers of the Indian military that were being implicated at that time. And that was a time when Hemant Karkare was the one who was leading the investigations before he got killed during the Mumbai attacks. Ahmer, Bilal, Soofi, you have been following this very closely. Give us a sense, A, of why do you think the NIA wasn't really interested in pursuing this? And B, what kind of legal remedies do we have in this particular case? Because as you might know, one of the Pakistani nationals' petition was struck down by this court where she had asked for testimonies by certain Pakistanis, and the court had, said no, it struck it down.
Okay, Ejaz, I have to make 3 points here. First point is clearly a pro-defense bias came into play with this government coming into power in this case. The entire judicial and prosecutional structure was tilted suddenly in favor of the accused, and efforts were made to facilitate the acquittals. Efforts were actively made even to put pressure on the prosecution team to go slow. There are evidence and indicators on the record where one of the prosecutors actually submitted an affidavit to the court saying, I am receiving these instructions. And in addition to that, there is further material, because in India there are various entities, even Congress, which was monitoring this case, said Supreme Court of India needs to monitor the manner in which this case is being processed. So there was heavily pro-defense, favorable bias that you could see and read in the events, as if the whole thing was re-choreographed in order to get the acquittals and send a message to RSS and their personnel that the state would protect you if you go down the route of using violence against Muslims. Now, the second point I wish to flag is a very interesting sequence of events when Tasneem was representing Pakistan, and that was a time, and when she went there to India as well around this. This was a time when Pakistan was making an effort to normalize relations and to improve relations. Now, you just heard our guest from India telling us, before this event, there were 2 specific blasts which took place in the Makkah Masjid, then Ajmer blast. Effort was made to implicate non-state actors from Pakistan, unsuccessful. Then next year, Samjhauta happens in 2007. And in Samjhauta, again, an effort is made to implicate Pakistan to derail the peace process. Effort is unsuccessful because Pakistan's footprint is not found. Then 2008, you are witnessing Mumbai. And it's very interesting, you do have conspiracy charges of people in Pakistan, but was Mumbai made to happen is a very interesting study which has been off the radar. And more recently, the Indian Supreme Court, in its judgment of Ajmal Kasab, looked at 2 accused who were acquitted, who facilitated the Mumbai. And then you have Mr. David somewhere in Chicago, who in his plea bargain actually says that I traveled to India and I went back to people in Jamaatul Dawa. I persuaded them, induced them to undertake this entire thing. So if you look at the sequence of events, it is very clear that an effort is being made to paint Pakistan as an irresponsible state. Now, in Mumbai, they achieved that success considerably and then moved on to a lawfare mode to attack Pakistan and say Pakistan is not doing enough. We have given inadmissible dossiers to Pakistan. But now this outcome, this sudden acquittal which has come out of Samjhauta, if you look at the Samjhauta documentation and the case file, which is on the record on the website, on the Google, I don't have to really undertake an intelligence-based operation to retrieve those files. Those files give you a very clear footprint of the state involvement into acts of terrorism. And that, coupled with the corroboration of the events relating to the vigilantes, that now you see the events relating to cow slaughters and the Muslims' oppression, paint a picture of an extremely irresponsible government coming into power in India, which is now also expressing even more irresponsibility when it gives threats of use of force in public meetings and gatherings against a neighboring state.
Absolutely. But here's the thing. I'm going to take a short break, but at the end of the break, we'll continue with this discussion. And I also want to place certain other points on the table with reference to why, for instance, states like the United States, France, Germany, Britain have actually sided with Indian aggression, recent Indian aggression. Why is it that we fail to present our viewpoint with the same level of poignance and strength? I think these are issues that we certainly need to discuss, and we will get to them after this break. Welcome back to Indus Special. We're discussing the acquittal by a special anti-terror court in India's Haryana state of the 4-person accused of attacking the Samjhauta Express, which was a terror attack committed in February of 2007. And before I took the break, Ahmer Bilal Soofi, who is a lawyer, an expert also in international law, was telling us that one, he could very clearly see a pro-defense bias, and which became quite pronounced since the coming to power of Modi's BJP RSS government. And Bilal also said that he could see the re-choreographing of this entire thing with NIA, which is supposed to be a premier investigating agency, and has a record of 95% prosecutions, as Vijaita Singh was telling us, didn't seem particularly, concerned about the fact that they could not pin down these accused. But I'd also said before taking the break that there is something needs to be said about why we somehow fail to, for various reasons, make our point. And I think that is where I'm going to pull in Ambassador Tasnim Aslam. Ambassador Aslam, why do we fail to do this? I know it's not just about the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or the official spokesperson, but what is it that we need to do? Because the kind of narrative that India trots out, especially in terms of quote-unquote terrorism, something that does not even have a specific definition, but we cannot make the charges stick.
I would not agree with you that it's the failure of Pakistan's ministry, or not just ministry, or government of Pakistan, or Pakistan's policy and how we articulate our point of view. It has nothing to do with that. You have to look at the larger geostrategic interests and picture in the world. Look at the convergences. And then India has taken a leaf out of the Israeli or American book, or for that matter, if you go back in the history, the European history. False flag attacks to achieve certain foreign policy objectives. What happened more recently, you are aware, I'm sure, that India did not embark on this misadventure of Balakot without encouragement, or at least tacit support of certain Western countries, namely the US as well, or France. France came out, I mean, of course, they have also the economic angle here. They want to sell their military jets to India, and they want to sell their power plants to India. So they want to be in good books of India. Even if we were a big economy, we are, I wouldn't say wrong side of the history, we are on the right side of the history. But that means that we don't have that kind of convergence, fundamental convergence with the US, with France, with Australia, with Western countries.
Ambassador Aslam, without prejudice to what you say.
Favorable to Pakistan, but at least
let me just come in.
Yes.
Without prejudice to what you're saying, and this is how realpolitik works. You've been a diplomat for more than 3 decades. You know how the game is played. So while there are all these convergences, and of course the fact that India's economy is growing much faster than ours, it interests the world, we perhaps worry the world, and all of this, but this is precisely the environment in which we have to play, and therefore we need to play it more smart than we've been able to do so up until now. So we cannot really say that because the world is, for various reasons, arrayed against us, therefore that becomes a very deterministic argument.
No, I don't agree with you that we have not played our cards well, or we have not. Look at the odds that we have faced, and look at how we have come out of the most recent crisis. Despite the statements by these countries, despite encouragement to India that India had the right to retaliate even before investigations were carried out, even before there was any evidence that the attack in Pulwama, which I would not call a terrorist attack, because that is not a terrorist attack in international law. This was an attack against an occupation force. So whatever that was, but before anything, what the message from the US and certain other countries like France or Australia was that India has the right to retaliate. Retaliate for what? The case has not been investigated. There is no evidence, nothing at all. And Pakistan had already sent a very clear message that if India wants to share evidence with us, we will investigate and will help them. But this, notwithstanding all that, when India embarked on this attack and we retaliated, I think generally after a long time, I saw the Western media more reporting more balanced, New York Times or Guardian and others. This happened after a long time, and indeed we constantly kept everyone informed. We also explained our position, and we also made it very clear that there are certain red lines which we will not allow to be crossed. And I think we earned respect for that. And as for the larger picture, certainly we have not given up, and we are not saying that since there are larger geopolitical interests which compel the Western countries to support India's position, we are not going to engage with them. They have certain interests with us, and
we have to exploit those interests.
Continue that
obviously,
engagement
yes, because
also. We continue.
I think we are also very important.
I'll just give you one example.
Yeah.
No, we are important, but I'll just give you one example which will demonstrate how they close their eyes to any evidence of India's mischief or outright acts of terrorism. I mentioned Chitti Singh Pura, which was stage managed by Indian security forces, obviously with the support and No. This was the massacre of Sikhs in Kashmir when President Clinton was visiting India and Pakistan, and
yeah,
yes,
a former
Indian security forces,
a former Indian lieutenant general is on record as having said that it was false flag. Let me just pull in. We also have Dr. Tasleem Rehmani, who is the president of Muslim Political Council of India, who's just joined me. I am going to ask Dr. Rehmani what he thinks of the acquittal of these Samjhauta Express blast accused, and then go back to Ahmer Bilal Soofi to get his legal perspective on what we could possibly do. Dr. Rehmani, what is your sense of why this has happened? Because it seems that the NIA wasn't particularly, serious about pursuing these cases, or is this a sense which is wrong? I mean, what exactly do you think has happened here?
First of all, I want to say that this NIA and all other agencies of our government are very well working within the government instructions. And while I do say that there is a very clear proof. When there was a UPA government last 5 years back, the same Swami Asimanand has confessed under oath that he has been working on the behest of RSS and its chief, and he came to meet him, and then he blessed him to go and kill the people who are anti-Hindus. And then when the government changed and this present establishment came into being, then he retracted his statement. And the same NIA Solicitor General, there was one Mrs. Roni Sanyal, who used to look after this case. She said under oath, under an affidavit, that she has been pressurized by the central government to go slow with the case or dilute the charges. And for that reason, she resigned, citing such example. So this is a very clear case, and I must say, it is not just the Samjhauta blast case. There are 3 more cases like the Makkah Masjid blast, like the Ajmer blast, and one more is pending with these people.
Malegaon.
Under all these charges, this is for Pakistan, this is a case of only 60, I'm not saying only, rather, it's a case of 68 people, but for us, this is a case of 111 people who has been killed in 3 blasts. And from all these allegations, they have been acquitted. So we are at pain. The NIA, you must know that NIA is not a regular court, like any high court or Supreme Court,
it's a special anti-terror court.
So this way, we feel that the justice has not been done with anybody. And the main main accused in this case, Mr. Sunil Joshi, was killed those days itself under mysterious circumstances, and nobody knows that who killed. And in the same case, Sadhvi Pragya was named and it was accused, and she has been acquitted. So this way, if the cases are going in that direction, then we can very openly and very clearly say the justice has not been done.
So, Dr. Rehmani, as the president of Muslim Political Council of India, and you're absolutely right, because it's not just the Samjhauta Express terror attack. There were other terror attacks also that claimed the lives of many Indian Muslims. What are you planning to do? Are you going to pursue this, take it to the High Court, or how does it work?
You see, this is basically an NIA charge sheet and NIA code. NIA itself is a party in this case. So if the NIA, this case actually the NIA has lost the case. So this is the direct responsibility of NIA to go to a regular court and ask for a justice. But because NIA is under the government and we are not a party to that, we are not eligible to go and file a case. Maybe at some point of time a PIL can be filed. But for Pakistan, you see in Samjhauta Express case, the deceased were the foreigners, and there are laws for the foreigner people for protection. So this, I'm sorry to say that Pakistan very recently has played a role to get a justice for their citizens. Just a day before, they filed an application in the NIA court to here to examine more witnesses. But earlier there was not such kind of a of an activity from the Pakistan government.
Absolutely, and the court rejected that.
At our soil,
yeah.
So they must have to take some proactive legal actions which they are entitled to. But that has not been done. As far as our case is concerned, certainly we are looking after the other legal measures to go ahead with this case.
Okay, Dr. Rehmani, thank you so much for speaking with us. Soofi, what kind of remedies can we go in for? Dr. Rehmani is saying that it's only recently that we've kind of become proactive. But what do you think we need to do at the legal level? And of course, also at the politico-strategic level, but I'll come to that. First, the legal side.
Yeah, Ejaz, I think as our guest from India said, this is a case of 80 or 90 victims who got killed in this terrorist act in Samjhauta Express. I differ. I think it's not a case of 80 or 90 people. I think it's a case which is going to affect the entire Muslim population of India. I think it's a case, it's an acquittal, it's a protection given by the state to an entity within the state which is hell-bent on discriminating a minority in its country, which has a plan, and a plan which is completely well demonstrated that it wants to go after Muslims, it wants to marginalize them. And this acquittal demonstrates and sends a message to all the Muslims within India that they are unprotected as per the law or justice system within India is concerned. So I see very serious repercussions coming out of this acquittal in terms of psychological, in terms of what will have effect on the Muslim minority in India. Now, based on that, I think every Muslim in India has a locus standi to question this. And likewise, given the fact that this can lead to a very serious showdown between the majority and the minority over the next few months, if not years, we are likely to see an endangering of international peace and security. So I think any Muslim in India can file a petition before the Supreme Court of India asking to set aside this acquittal or to review it on the ground that there has been serious miscarriage of justice in a procedural sense, and it needs to be done because it needs to send a very strong message to the minorities in India. If it were to preserve the spirit of its constitution, then it needs to set aside this acquittal and go for a retrial at the minimum. The Supreme Court of India entertains petitions electronically as well. So anyone from anywhere in the world, any Indian Muslims outside India can electronically file this request in the Supreme Court of India, just the way in which Article 35A and Article 370 have been challenged before the Supreme Court of India, and they were challenged during the dates when this attack of Pulwama reaction in terms of Indian aggression happened. If you remember, it was 26, 27, 28. These were the dates marked by the Supreme Court of India for the regular hearing of Article 35A and Article 370, and these were the dates when India carried out this attack and brought the situation to. So we have a serious issue here. It's not a case of affecting
Bilal,
only
tell me,
families of the victims. It's a case.
Pakistan is a state, since the majority of those killed were Pakistani nationals. So we cannot pray to an Indian court and say that the justice has not been done here.
I won't rule it out. The state can become a party, like in our country, as per our own law. Any state, any legal person from the outside can enter. It can say, well, there has been injustice carried out, and I want to become a petitioner in a certain matter. There are other forums. OIC has a Human Rights Commission. I mean, it's not terribly effective, as we all know, but nevertheless it exists. It has members appointed. It has a functional secretariat. One can bring this matter. One can bring this matter to the secretarial notice and see, and the secretariat and the commission, the OIC Human Rights Framework, can examine it in detail and come out with its own findings and saying, well, there is a miscarriage of justice.
Okay, I have to wrap up the program, so I'll quickly go back to Ambassador Tasneem Aslam. Ambassador Aslam, there's also another case in the ICJ with reference to Kulbhushan Jadhav, where India has been casting aspersions at a Pakistani justice system. Now, this has happened. Do you think we can exploit this with reference to what's happening in the ICJ?
In ICJ, the arguments on both sides were concluded. Now, a decision is awaited. But I won't compare the two cases, their justice system and our justice system, at least with all the handicaps, with lack of information, with non-access to the witnesses, particularly Ajmal Kassab. We are still undertaking a trial of the accused. But in India's case, there was overwhelming evidence. There were confessions, statements, in fact, bragging that by Asimnand Swamy that he was involved in this terrorist attack. Despite that, despite the prosecutor's statement, despite a large number of eyewitnesses, the Indian court gave a verdict which has nothing to do with carrying out justice.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. That was Ambassador Tasneem Aslam. Thank you for your insights. Ahmer Bilal Soofi, thank you also for your insights. This is all I have today from Indus Special. We'll see you tomorrow. Until then, it's goodbye.